Well, hey, this is Joe. Welcome to my Boffice. Yes, I said Boffice. This is my bed office. And this is lap typing on a lap desk in the comfort of the most comfortable place in your house, which should be the bedroom. Why would you want to do that? Why would you want to mix work and pleasure? Why would you want to make writing an enjoyable process? Why would anybody want to make writing an enjoyable process? Because we have to crank out those words despite the agony of learning how to be creative. Why should we have to do it in an environment such as this where it's so comfortable? That is a good question. So what I discovered about using the typewriter on the lap desk here in the Boffice is that it's a reclined position. I mean, it's kind of like the same position that if you remember the New Yorker magazine and all those cartoons that they've had in the magazine for decades and decades, right? And one of the common tropes in the New Yorker cartoon is about the psychiatrist and the patient's always on a couch. His lower extremities are horizontal, but his upper torso is sort of at a 45-degree angle in the typical, stereotypical psychiatrist couch. And it's interesting that here in the Boffice, this is kind of the posture that I've discovered works pretty well. I'm elevated up enough that I can see what I'm doing on the typewriter. My hands are pretty comfortable in terms of ergonomics, and the typewriter with a lap desk is quite comfortable. This lap desk is padded underneath. Now I probably should get some kind of a typing pad onto the hard surface. The typewriter, this Olympia SF, does kind of want to move a little bit, but not too bad. And I think if I had a little padding here, it would probably make the sound even quieter. But that raises another question, right? Is about the typical office environment. You have the typewriter on a desk, and mostly it's all hard surfaces. Well, that means that you have a lot of sound, a lot of noise, right? All those hard surfaces are reflecting all the sound of the typewriter around. But here in the typical bedroom setting, you have a lot of soft surfaces. I mean, we have this upholstered headboard, and we have, bedding and comforter and mattress and all this stuff. It kind of becomes a lot more muted and soft, and it changes the sort of the nature of the environment. It makes it a different kind of work environment. It is still work. I think any kind of writing, any kind of creativity is work, but doing it in this environment is a different kind of work. It feels different. It feels like you could probably do this all day and not wear yourself out. In fact, just the other night I was typing here, and this is kind of where I discovered this word Boffice. It's an interesting way of writing, I find, because my creativity kind of gets elevated. I think what I discovered the other night when I was writing here in bed on this tray table was that the usual distractions of the office environment, the writing environment, are done away with, and you have sort of the ultimate in creature comfort here in this environment. We as humans, we do make our nests just like other animals do, right? And this is sort of, your bedroom is your nest, right? The most comfortable place where you live. And so you're finding that by creating in the most comfortable place in your house, your nest, in the most comfortable position that you can be in, means that you can write for extended periods of time. You have less distraction just from the discomfort of sitting at a hard chair at a desk or whatever. I also think there's a factor, though, about the different environment that you're in. I think there's something mental about the kind of environment you're in when you write. Like if you're in an office or kind of a work environment, I think it sort of does something subconscious to your work and to your mind. There are just these basic assumptions that we have in our society around the common roles of people's jobs in the in the workplace, and how that all works out with what we do as creators. But I think when you move the creative process out of the normal work environment into something different like this, I think it does something fresh and invigorating to your creative process. I know for sure I can sit here all day and write. Now, there's another element I want to discuss about lap typing in bed, the Boffice, the bedroom office, is you're probably going to want to do this on a small portable typewriter. If you can imagine a medium-sized portable, it's just going to be quite a bit heavier and bulkier and harder to move the tray table on and off. So you're going to want to do it with a small portable, ideally. But you know, a lot of portable typewriters don't have as good of a touch as more larger machines, and so the touch of the typewriter is very important also to the creative process. I've mentioned this before previously in other videos, and I'll probably talk about it again, but how we physically interact, the haptics of the machine, how our fingers and the keys and linkage work together, has a lot to do with our experiencing pleasure as we're typing. So what you kind of need is a pretty good feeling portable typewriter, one that has a nice touch to it. Now, it turns out that this Olympia SF, which I acquired maybe a month or two ago, is it doesn't have a touch selector, a touch adjustment in the machine. There's no touch adjustment. But interestingly enough, the way the touch is preset on this machine is pretty much close to ideal for me. It's a little bit heavier of a feel than maybe the Smith Corona Silence and the Hermes 3000, which are kind of butter smooth. But it's not nearly as bad, as hard and clanky as some of those other small little portables. This particular machine does have one, maybe two little issues that keep it from being mechanically perfect. And again, the mechanical condition of your typewriter is going to also have a lot to do with how much you enjoy the writing process. Some kind of an issue that just distracts you in the middle of writing, you have to stop and deal with it. That's not going to be a good experience. You have to be comfortable with the machine, with the touch and feel of it. Overall, what I'm trying to say here is you need to think about, to be creative, move or change the way that you type, that you write. Change your writing environment. And I recommend writing in bed. Make it your bed office, your Boffice. Make it really comfortable. Have a nice cup of espresso, which means I have to stop and have a sip before it gets cold. A nice cup of your favorite beverage. Have your work spread out before you. Set your pillows up so they're the most comfortable they can be. If it's a little cool and you have to wear socks, put on some socks. Put on your jammies. Remember, this is work, but you're going to do it in the most comfortable way possible, because that's going to help foster more creativity, and you're going to be in a really comfortable spot. See, look at this. I can move the typewriter fore or aft, using nautical terminology, of course, and get that perfect position for typing. And your little portable typewriter, the one that you like to use best for writing, so it's not that big, bulky, or heavy. And sit down in the Boffice and do some real creating. So here's the thing about that reclining or semi-reclining position. I mentioned that, this is the position of the characters that you always see in the New Yorker magazine cartoons, where there's a psychiatrist sitting in his chair upright, and the patient is semi-reclining on the couch. There's a reason for that. There's a reason for why psychiatrists have traditionally put their patients in that kind of position. And it has all to do with taking them out of their normal public guarded persona. We will put on our little masks, our little pretend persona. By reclining, you're putting yourself more into that intimate place where the way you are when you're by yourself alone in your house or with your family, with your loved ones. So it kind of tends to disarm the natural defenses that we have in our mind. I think that's one of the reasons why psychiatrists do that. I don't think it's merely about making you more comfortable physically so you can talk to the psychiatrist. I really think there's something about the posture of that reclining position that kind of disarms your defenses, enables you to open up. That's the same process, I think, that's at work here. Why reclining in a relaxed, intimate position is going to be better for creativity. I think it really does unleash more potential from inside, and it disarms some of the defensiveness that we have that is usually found in the typical upright, seated at a desk kind of work position. Because my point here is about helping us to foster our creativity in new ways and using these machines as a way of doing that. These are not just old writing machines. They're not just from a previous era, but there's a certain thing about these physical mechanical typewriters that is unique and special that we can use to unleash our creativity. That, I think, is the most important part of using manual typewriters in the creative process. This is Joe Van Cleve from my Boffice. Until next time, you guys keep creating and have a great day.